Hi, I'm Paul Gorrie from the Navigator Network. Our firm is the current holder of the Australian Firm of the Year with Grant Abbott's Now Infinity Group. Using your super fund to purchase assets is a great way to build your asset base for your longer term retirement. Recently, however, the banks have been making it increasingly difficult to purchase those assets by either cutting back the percentage that they will lend when you want to purchase an asset, or in some cases completely removing themselves from lending to self-managed super funds, which will inevitably lead to a higher cost of funds for your self-managed super fund. I wish to present to you several other options you may want to consider in order to deal with the changing landscape that exists in relation to self-managed super fund borrowing. Also keep in mind, for several years now there's been talk that eventually the government may change the legislation and close the door on self-managed super funds being able to borrow at all. So if you're considering buying assets in your self-managed super fund and needing to borrow in order to do that, you may want to consider bringing forward that decision rather than waiting. The first way to beat the banks applies to people who have equity in the assets they already own and borrowing from the bank, then on-lending those funds to your self-managed super fund. To do this, approach your bank and request access to the equity in the assets you already own via the bank lending you funds, normally at home loan interest rates. You in turn then lend these funds to your self-managed super fund at the same interest rate that your bank is charging you. This is a very easy deal for the bank to do, as it is normally a simple procedure, especially if you are just redrawing funds from where you have paid off your loans. In other cases, it may be a new application from the bank in order to access the equity in the increased value of your current properties. In any case, it is quite simple, as the bank has all the information about you in order to lend to you. Let's take an example. Let's say your self-managed super fund wants to purchase a property for, say, $350,000, and they're quoting you very high interest rates, set-up fees, and will only lend you 70% of the purchase price of the property. You instead approach the bank and ask for a redraw of the loans that you've already paid off or accessing the increased value in the properties that you own. The bank then lends you the $350,000 at home loan interest rate of, say, 5%, and then you on-lend that same $350,000 to your self-managed super fund, and the self-managed super fund repays you the loan at the same monthly repayments as what you pay your bank. So your self-managed super fund has borrowed 100% of the purchase price of the asset at a home loan interest rate of 5%, and it didn't get charged anything like the loan setup fees that it normally would. This is as good as it gets. You of course need to have a loan agreement drawn up between yourself and the self-managed super fund to document the loan being made and the loan repayments having to be made every month as if you had borrowed the funds from the bank. The second way to beat the banks is for your self-managed super fund to borrow from the bank and also have your self-managed super fund borrow from you as well, to effectively increase the level of gearing in relation to the self-managed super fund purchasing an asset. To do this, you will also need to have a degree of equity in other assets that you can access in order to complete the process. As an example, let's say as previously your self-managed super fund wanted to purchase a property for $350,000 and your self-managed super fund didn't have the other 30% required to complete the purchase. You would borrow 70% as a first mortgage with the bank and then personally borrow for up to the other 30% in order to complete the purchase using your personal assets where you have equity. By doing this, you can potentially gear up to 100% of the purchase price when acquiring the assets. These are both great strategies in order to increase your exposure to growth assets, if that's really what you want to do. As they advance strategies, you really need to talk to your advisor or financial planner, as the self-managed super funds are quite strict and you want to operate within those rules. If we can help in any way, email me at paul@navigatornetwork.com.au. This is Paul Gorrie from the Navigator Network, signing off.